with the Retirement Center. We're glad you joined us here at the Retirement Forum. Tonight we have the privilege of speaking and spending a little time with Jeff Nizzardo. Jeff is with Allianz Global Investors. For folks that don't know Allianz, they are one of the largest, in fact, the second largest manager of assets in the world. Jeff, thanks for being with us.
Oh, you're welcome, Ian.
Come to Birmingham quite a bit, don't you?
I do, by way of Nashville.
That's it. Very good. Jeff, we're excited to talk to you tonight on several levels. One, on this video, we hope that this information is helpful to our clients and folks here in the community. We know you're about to share with a group of people here in our office, but I thought we might spend just a little bit of time here to capture just a small idea of what you're going to present later on. Do you mind?
Sure, that sounds great.
Wonderful. Allianz talks a lot about the idea of financial repression. And in our business, when we deal with our clients, as they would tell you, the idea of financial repression, that's investment lingo.
Sure.
That's stuff that just kind of eyes glaze over when they hear it. And so I think it would be helpful, if you don't mind, just giving us a perspective on Allianz's definition of what is financial repression? What is that? What's the definition?
Sure. So financial repression is not a term that Allianz coined per se. Financial repression was actually coined in the throes of our first bout of financial repression in the early 70s by a couple of Stanford economists.
Okay.
And simply what it refers to is a set of government policies that keep interest rates low and keep interest rates along the yield curve negative in an attempt to affect a public debt crisis. So what financial repression is built to do is, over a long period of time, through government policies, mainly through central banks, keep interest rates low and eventually inflate our way out of a debt crisis.
Okay. I will take that and put that into the type of terms that I would with my clients, because we talk about this. We don't use the exact definition that you just said. We don't typically talk about the yield curve necessarily, but the idea is that federal governments, because we deal with a debt-related economy, all of the developed countries do, is that by playing with interest rates up, down, we can either stimulate, we can make it expand, or we can shrink the economy. Is that a fair layman's term definition?
That's fair. Yep.
Okay. So if Allianz and other folks are talking about this idea of financial repression, which clearly we're in, right?
Yes,
Our government is doing exactly what you just described right now. They're keeping interest rates low with the desired effect of inflating or expanding us out of what happened in 08, 09, 010.
Sure.
So if that's the case, then what are some of the effects of financial repression?
Sure.
Allianz has a lot of smart folks that work with you. So, what are the effects for investors?
Well, the issues and the challenges that investors face are threefold, Ian. Number one, coming out of a crisis such as 2008, there's a massive amount of risk aversion out there, and investors are nervous, obviously, because of what happened to risk assets.
Sure.
Secondly, through financial repression, yields on safe investments, think cash, T-bills, CDs, are at all-time lows, and it's very difficult for investors to get any sort of return in the quote-unquote safe asset classes. In essence, risk-free assets have now become return-free. So that's a second issue. And then thirdly, we have increased volatility. Because of financial repression, because of what the Fed has done, first Bernanke and now Janet Yellen, we're in uncharted territory. The bond market has changed materially. There's increased volatility in fixed income investing.
Right.
And then also investors, both retail and professional, are uncertain on the levels of volatility in the equity markets. And so those are the three main issues that investors face.
Okay. So because of financial repression, I'm going to cut to the chase here, you're seeing folks become more risk averse than perhaps they should, investors, or perhaps they're just cautious, they're worried, they're concerned,
Absolutely.
They don't know which direction to take because there's no trend, there's no trajectory. So from Allianz's perspective, again, you have a lot of folks that you deal with, chief economists, just brilliant people, a whole team of them. What are some things that Allianz is recommending to investors to address this issue? What should people be doing? You know, I know what we talk to our clients about, and I have a feeling you're going to share similar thoughts.
Yeah.
But what is it that your people are recommending that investors be doing today in light of what the federal government policy out of Washington is projecting?
Yeah. Well, if there's three main challenges that investors face, okay, the inability to get yields in safe assets,
right,
an increase in volatility, both on the fixed income side and the equity side. Then Allianz has three solutions to address each of those items.
Okay.
One, in a financial repressionary environment, again, the explicit goal of the central bank, of the government, is to create inflation to unwind this debt crisis. So cash is ultimately damaging to a portfolio. In other words, doing nothing is not a strategy.
Right. Because inflation obviously decreases the purchasing
Absolutely.
power of a dollar.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay.
Secondly, you need to look differently at your bond portfolio. A traditional fixed income portfolio is typically included in an allocation to reduce volatility, to add some diversification. Well, you know, with interest rates low, bond prices high, the dynamics of the fixed income market have changed significantly over the past 7 years.
Certainly.
And then third, when we look at volatility, both in fixed income and equities, what we need to do is be mindful and be able to take advantage of any tactical opportunities that may arise in a period of financial repression.
Okay. If you're comfortable, what would be some tactical opportunities that might present themselves?
Sure. Well, you know, with volatility in the equity markets, you certainly have to be ready and willing to buy during periods of stress.
Okay.
Which, you know, the typical investor will tend to sell when things get a little nasty. And then there's other places to look for alternative forms of income. Things like convertible bonds. Convertible bonds give you the upside in equities with a measure of downside protection in fixed income. It's a nice hybrid security that investors can choose to include into their portfolio. Those are just a couple of the areas that you might want to look at in a period of financial repression.
It's good. It's spot on with the conversations that we have with our clients. That's good information, Jeff. I'll tell you, I really appreciate you being here. I know the people that are coming to our office in about an hour will appreciate what you have to share, and I know you'll expand on this brief conversation. So I really appreciate your time.
Thanks, Ian.
Absolutely,
Thank you very
Jeff.
much.
Thanks to our audience here for being with us tonight. Again, this is Ian Maddox with the Retirement Center, and we are the sponsor of the Retirement Forum, which is these videos and the events that we hold here in our office and around the community. We'd love for you to join us at some point. To learn more about what we do and how we think, you can go to our website at www.retirementcenter.us. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter. Until next time, have a great night.